What would you do if I said that there was a haunted house that you can go to today because it's open to the public and the spirit within the house actually physically messes with your fears? This place in Villisca, Iowa, just happens to be the site of several gruesome murders. It happened on the night of June 9th, 1912, and to this day, the murders are still unsolved. Hi, hello, welcome if this is your first time here. I am Kim. If this isn't your first time here, sorry, you're going to have to put up with this for a minute. I'm a paranormal investigator and I got really into the paranormal when I was in my early 20s. In this series of Boos and Bourbon, you're going to find out lots of information regarding the paranormal. You're going to hear about some of my favorite ghost stories and what I like to use when I'm out in the field. As well, you're going to see my co-host Jen Taylor from our previous audio podcast, Boos and Bourbon. She's also a ghost hunter, as well as some of our friends. On this episode, I'm going to dive into everything to do with the Villisca axe murder house, the hauntings behind it, and what its spirit or spirits have done to people. Let's get into the history of the murders. On the night of June 9th, 1912, the Moore family were bludgeoned to death by an axe. Like I said, these murders are still unsolved. It seemed to be a quiet little sleepy town, this Villisca place. Mrs. Moore, the wife, had just planned this lavish Presbyterian church event, and it started at 8 p.m. It was all done by 9:30. Their daughter decided that she would invite her two friends over to stay the night because those girls were afraid to walk home. I mean, it's dark. Of course. Sure. Yeah. Stay the night. I guess we know what happened to them anyway, unfortunately. So there were 8 people murdered that night. The neighbor started to notice that things were a little weird when on June 10th, she was hanging her laundry outside to dry. Now, this was 5 a.m. That's early. I'm sorry, Karen, but probably most people are sleeping at 5 a.m. Anyway, by 8:30, she ended up calling somebody that was a relative to the Moore family, and this gentleman couldn't get in. He found a spare key. When he found the spare key, he was greeted by 2 bloody bodies covered with a sheet. That's when he decided it was probably a good idea to call the authorities. I think this is a good idea for me to have a shot of bourbon. This episode, I'm drinking Legent. All right, so here's where things start to get really, really gruesome. When the police officer went into the kitchen of the home, he saw that there was a half-eaten plate of food. Then there were cigarette butts everywhere, and then he noticed a pot full of blood in the kitchen. There were bloody footprints all throughout the home, and actually the axe was found in the main bedroom upstairs. The axe was wiped, and next to the axe was a slab of bacon. 4 pounds of bacon. How does any of this make any sense? Unfortunately, this gave the house a really bad reputation. Then in the 30s and 40s, it seemed that seances were exceptionally popular. And it turns out that a lot of people came and did seances. Later, it turned out to be a rental overnight, like a bed and breakfast per se, and now it is a museum, so anybody can go there and visit. The problem with all of this is that you have all of the reasons why a place should technically be haunted. You have gruesome murders, you have very quick deaths, and you also have groups of people coming in and summoning whatever. So they don't think that just the Moore family is haunting the residence. They also think that there are some other entities that have been brought in by people through the seances, and even in present day where people just bring a Ouija board or bring other ghost hunting equipment. I'm sure you're asking, what kind of hauntings happen here? You've got your typical hauntings. You have doors opening and closing. You have unexplained footsteps. You have weird stuff going on in the attic. And you also get crazy EVPs of children. The footsteps tend to happen all throughout the house. There's some darker things that tend to happen in the attic. And this darker thing seems to be what is the main cause of manipulating people and really exploiting their deepest and darkest fears. Johnny Hauser did some investigations in the house along with one of his friends. And when he was in the house, he decided it might be a good idea to play Pantera. Anyway, his friend was in the closet, and when she was in the closet, as soon as she started to hear the music, she said that the whole room felt weird. It didn't feel the same anymore. That's when Johnny decided that he was going to come up to go to the closet with her. When he did, all they were hearing were footsteps downstairs. And then they heard the footsteps start to come up the stairs. And then the bedroom door was closed. And you know how there's that little gap underneath of the door where you can usually see a little bit of light? There was a figure that stood and blocked the light from underneath of the door. So that's when Johnny went crazy and was like looking around the house and, threatening it with a gun and all this kind of thing. So he went and he looked at security footage of the house and there was nothing to be found. His friend was having a really, really hard time with this. She decided it would be a good idea to leave. The very next day, she got in a car accident and she blamed the entity in the home. Other people have experienced crazy EVPs by hearing children's voices. If you go on YouTube, you can definitely find some of them. A ghost hunter that lives in Iowa, you can find her on Instagram at @IHuntGhosts. She actually went into the house and had experienced some pretty crazy things. And then shortly after, very sadly, her puppy mysteriously died. This is an ongoing occurrence of terrible things happening just after people visit this house. Then Kindred Spirits were called, the TV show, Amy and Adam, because another gentleman was having some major guilt over visiting the house and then having family members pass away. And he thought that it all had to do with him visiting this house. So Amy and Adam went to do an investigation, and what they found was also pretty compelling, but wanted to make sure that this gentleman knew that it was not his fault. But I don't know, guys. I'm on the fence. This seems like a really, really dark home. I would categorize this as the same type of house as Amityville House or the Conjuring House or even the Lizzie Borden house. If you have an opportunity to go see this place, amazing. If you've had any experiences there, please reach out to me, DM me here on Instagram or on Facebook, and I'll be sure to get back to you. Thanks for watching.